I lost a friendship over doing makeup for a wedding.
What?
Yes. This is Wild Yarns with Samara and Sheri. And welcome back to Wild Yarns. I'm Sheri and this is Samara, and this episode we're talking all things weddings.
Wild weddings. I feel like everyone has a wedding yarn. And what's crazy, Sheri and I used to both work in the fucking wedding industry, which is who I am now. It's just absurd that was something we did for I did it for 10 years. You were about the same?
Yeah.
We were both makeup artists. That's actually how we knew each other. And, we definitely saw some shit in our time. And I guess it's on both ends, it's almost like going to a wedding as someone who's working at a wedding as well as fucking being a guest and stuff at weddings. You see some shit.
Yeah. Never again will I work in the wedding industry.
Nah.
There is a reason why vendors charge more when they hear it's a wedding, because it is more work.
Totally. I remember, and I guess both of us, just a bit about our backgrounds, we both did makeup. We both did commercial makeup as well as bridal makeup. We both had businesses that did that. And it was interesting because you'd get paid, you'd be working for, a company and doing a photo shoot for a company. Let's say you're doing your City Beach photo shoot. You'd get paid a day rate by them, and literally you'd get a few texts or emails saying the date they're booking you. You'd get a rough brief sent to you, and that would be all you'd hear about it. That would be it. Mm-hmm. You would do a wedding and you would get a lot of email. It would be just...
There's so much back and forth, so much, talking to the...
level of customer service,
yeah,
really,
it's next level. A lot more effort goes in, so that's why people charge a lot more for weddings.
And I get it, man. I get it. I remember once, and I guess it's all about that boundaries at work. I remember once... it was New Year's Eve, and this bride wasn't getting married. She was booked in with me. She'd paid her deposit. She wasn't actually getting married until the following November. So New Year's Eve, there's 11 months between that time. And she was just quite persistent, messaging me all the time. She was on my social media, and she could see that I was drinking, getting ready to go to a New Year's Eve party. And I got a scathing email for not getting back to her. And by then, I'm like, mate, I've got some, personal boundaries here. You're emailing me outside of working hours, and I have a life. And I remember just thinking, she was one, and I had a few brides that I broke up with that I was just maybe I'm not the right artist for you.
Yeah, I've done that.
I'm not the right fit for what you want for your day. It's and you just put them in contact with someone else. And it's easier for everybody.
My thoughts were, if they're being this difficult before I've even met them, what are they going to be like when I'm doing their makeup? It's just not worth it.
Yeah, most of the people I work with were legends, but it's that handful of people that were, I guess, working in weddings, and I don't want to shit all over the industry, but people sometimes working in weddings, they don't really realise you've got a time schedule, and I rarely left a wedding on time because a lot of people, even though I had my boundaries and I'd be like, hey, we need to do this, people would rush off and go and eat some food or do some things, or it'd be like herding cats trying to keep it going, and by the end of it, you're completely fucked because you're around people all day. You're giving your energy. Sometimes it's super uplifting and you walk out thinking, oh, my God, that was the best experience. I feel like I'm part of that family. And then all the other side of it is you feel like someone has just sucked your soul out.
And I do get it because, your wedding is a big deal. You're spending a lot of money. It's made out especially for brides. It's your most important day. There's not a day in your life that's going to be more important, and everything needs to be perfect. But being a makeup artist and doing some weddings where people have just crossed lines and not gotten it has been the hardest time when I used to do makeup. And the day that I stopped was such a, weight off my chest of not doing it.
I remember the day I gave up, and I was just I am so happy. It's actually, the day I gave up, I actually cut off all my hair. Remember when I had short hair?
Yes.
It's because I had a traumatic wedding. I walked out, and I used to have this business at the beauty school, and I walked into the hair salon that the beauty school was at to pick up some things, and the lady that worked there is an amazing hairstylist, and she's like, look, you're really stressed. Let's just do like give you a wash and a blowout. And then when she was going to blow it out, she's like, do you want to cut? I was like, fucking cut it all off. I had an emotional haircut, but... So I had a wedding who she was at the end of the most demanding, rude bride I ever had. And I had this woman who, she shortchanged me $30 for one. Bitch. And I was flat out trying to get this $30 off her. She also, like, it was her and her adult daughters. The daughters she was an older lady. It was her second marriage. Her daughters were in their 30s, 40s, like adult daughters. They were all really hard to work with. One of them bought a lot of makeup, so she thought she knew a lot about makeup, so it was just very rude to me and my assistant. At the end of them getting ready for their wedding, so I had to get them ready and they had to get hitched very early. It was like 11 o'clock, which in wedding times, that's quite early, especially when you've got like a party of like 6 to get through. Like that's really, really early. Me and my assistant had organised to get to her house. She initially wanted me to do the whole party and I'm like, I can't. It's just, I'll be at your house at like 2 a.m. And I negotiated with her to start at like 4 a.m. or something that was a little bit more reasonable. Mind you, for me, I'm still up at 2 a.m. to drive out to wherever they were. So we got there, again, similar situation to you. They didn't let us in for a bit and I'm like, mate, we got to go. We then got into it and started getting ready. They were in an Airbnb. The reason they were getting ready so early is because they were actually, after they got married, they were getting on a boat to go camping somewhere like, I want to say like Stradbroke Island or somewhere random. They, in the middle of getting ready, were like, oh my God, we haven't packed a thing for camping. And I'm like, what the fuck? So me and my assistant just got them ready in time. They were in an Airbnb. They'd packed nothing. My assistant she was such a sweetheart. She wrapped up and said, I'll help as much as I can. So my assistant's in their fridge packing their fucking eskies. They were so rude to us and so disrespectful to us the whole time. But we helped them as much as we could. Then they ended up leaving us in the house. So because we were helping them, we hadn't packed down as much of our stuff because we're trying to help them get out the door because at the end of the day, we can just put our stuff. They can leave us there and we can lock up. And they were so rude about us not being packed up. And I'm like, mate, I've just helped you.
We would have been packed up if we weren't helping you. We
would have been out your hair. And we both of us packed up and we're standing out the front of this person's house, this Airbnb. And I'm like, that was fucked. That was completely fucked. And yeah, she still shortchanged me $30. I was like, oh, never.
I lost a friendship over doing makeup for a wedding.
What?
Yes. So my friend, she told me she was getting married and wanted me to do her makeup. At this time, I was living in London and I said to her, I am coming back, like moving back to Australia, but I won't have my makeup kit because I'm shipping it back. I can't take it on the plane. And it's going to take like a month or so. I'm not going to have any makeup with me. I obviously can bring my brushes in my suitcase and maybe like a few, like an eyeshadow palette or two, but I can't bring any foundations, anything else because it's all getting shipped back and I will definitely not have it. So if you want me to do it, I'm happy to do it as a wedding gift because, you know, it was just for her and her mum, but you need to make sure you've just got your own makeup there that I can use. And she said, yeah, that's fine, completely, all good. She also was like, well, would you be able to do our hair? And I was like, what hairstyle do you want? Because I'm not a bridal hairstylist, but I can
do a few things.
I can do hair. She sent it to me. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'll do your mum's hair and makeup. And then she just kept adding more people.
No.
That's not okay. I've agreed to do you and your mum.
Yeah.
But then I end up with this full bridal party. There was 7 of them.
Sheri, that's so many people. That's like, that goes from you spending, it's still a long time because the night before you're cleaning your shit. But like that goes from you spending a few hours, like a half day, to your whole day is done. That's it.
A few days before the wedding, she goes, you're still doing the hair as well, right?
No.
And I said...
So that's like 14 services in essence.
Yeah, I said to her, I told you I wouldn't be able to do the hair because if it takes me an hour to do each person's makeup, which is just an estimate, could be more, could be less, but around that, for 7 people, that's 7 hours. Adding on the hair, we're now looking at who knows what people's hair is, if it's long, short.
Yeah.
We're looking at, you'll be starting.
It's just a lot, man.
I'll be doing the first makeup at 2 a.m. She ended up being like, well, what do I do? I'm like, I told you needed to find a hairstylist. So 3 days before her wedding, I am contacting every hairstylist I know.
Trying to call in a favour to see if you can get someone.
And I said to her, you're going to have to pay someone. And she's like, I don't have that money.
What did she think?
I just said, I'm not paying for it. You're already getting the makeup off me for free. I said to her, don't forget you need to get your bridesmaids to have foundations. They need to bring their makeups. I do not have makeup. I've got 2 eyeshadow palettes.
Yeah.
And that is it. I don't have anything else but my brushes. And she goes, well, half of them don't wear makeup, so they won't have it. So can you go and buy some foundations? Because you can just keep those foundations for your kit. She wanted
That's not the point. Like, the point was you said, I can do it. Like, I can provide my time. You've just got to provide the makeup, and my kit's getting shipped back from, which is a very unique situation, but, you know, a friend you'll bend the rules for.
I have just fully stocked my kit before I left London because I was working for a makeup brand there. I have got more than enough foundation.
Good shit, too.
And I don't have, like, when I lived in London because I was working, I got discount. If I go now to buy it because I've just come back to Australia, I don't have any of my discounts set up here. Makeup artists get discounts if you're a professional makeup artist. So I'll be buying foundations that are like $110 retail. So you're wanting me to get around 7 different, maybe even more, because I don't know what.
Drop $1,000 on makeup to do a friend's wedding. What happened? Did you end up doing it?
I said, I'm not getting anything. I will do what I can do on what is supplied, but that is it. So we do it, and everything runs behind. No one's there on time. No one has anything.
Awful.
It was just honestly a shambles. And it got to the point where she was getting ready was ages away from the actual wedding venue, and I didn't get it because she had picked a place to get ready in the city and booked this hotel, but then was getting married at a, Sarah May Wineries, which is about a 45-minute drive from the city. I then had to go home, shower, change. I missed the wedding because I was working right up until they left, had to go home, shower, change, and I had plenty of time to do that if they had been organised.
Yeah, right.
Completely missed their wedding, and when I get there, the table that I'm on is like the table at the back where no one gives a shit, and I knew no one there. I had no one to talk to. It was full of like the grandparents, and it just really just damaged the friendship beyond repair just because of they're just adding the people on, not like caring about my time,
disrespecting your boundaries.
Yeah, just constantly, and then acting as if it was my fault that she had to pay for the hairdresser and all of these extra costs. That ruined the friendship. We did not really speak after that. But before we get into some more wild wedding stories...
I feel like we totally were it's almost like we just trauma dumped on the podcast. Because we're like, anyone that's worked at a wedding knows how fucked it is.
But before we get into some more wild wedding stories... I've got a few wedding questions to ask you. Neither one of us has been married, so this is all about the potential weddings in the future.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe we'll swap some jewellery and a surname with someone at some point.
But what wedding traditions are your definite, already that you want to have at your wedding? And what are some wedding traditions that you're just like, nah, never doing it?
Based on just me, I don't know who the fuck I'm going to marry, but based on just me... I don't think I would do the big traditional wedding at all. It's interesting, and for people that know me, I'm quite extroverted, but I'm actually very introverted as well. The idea of walking into a room full of so many people, it's so weird, looking at me and stuff, it just bothers me. I feel like I would not do the big traditional wedding. I would do something smaller, or, you know, invite people that do like an elopement and be like, go somewhere cool. And I think that another part of that is weddings are very expensive. I would prefer to spend that on a holiday than I would doing something at home.
Or a house. Like,
oh, yeah.
the average wedding is 50 to 70,000 in Australia, and that's an average wedding.
I want to have my hot girl Europe summer, man. So I think I would deviate away from that big traditional wedding totally and do something smaller, something overseas, see who could make it, totally not give a shit if people can't make it, because it's just, in this economy, like, it is just what it is. Maybe do something small at home with my family, should they not be able to make it, but that sounds like a really good time. But I think that's it. I don't know.
Are there any sort of like wedding traditions that you definitely like walking down the aisle with your dad or anything like that you're like...
The garter thing is gross. I think that's like...
It's not for me.
Nah.
I think in any other sort of situation where your partner would be going up your dress in public and pulling off some underwear, you'd be going to jail. But suddenly in front of everyone, it's okay. For me, it's not. I get that there's some people that are really like traditional and it was like very much like something that they wanted to do, or their parents did it and stuff like that, or they're like the garter that they have is like one that's been passed down, and you know, if that's for you, that's for you. But for me, I would feel quite like awkward having my partner go up my dress in front of my parents.
Weird. That to me is just weird. I think a bouquet toss is so dated. Who does?
Yeah.
Dated because it singles out the single people, which sometimes it can be like a hard topic to be like the single chick or guy at a wedding. Oh, well, it's just chicks for the bouquet toss. You're like, so,
no, I'm definitely like my sort of things that I've got a big list. I am not going to have like a traditional wedding.
What are you doing, Sheri?
The garter, the bouquet toss, definite no. I am not getting walked down the aisle because I am not a piece of property to be given
What are you doing instead?
I'm walking myself down the aisle. Like, it's going to be about me too. It's
ride down on a pony.
Well, like for like walking down the aisle, I get for some people because, you know, it's their dad is a big part of their life and stuff like that. So I do get why people do it. But the origins of it are you were the property of your dad and now you're becoming the property of your husband. And to me, I am no one's property, so that's not something I want to do. And I get it doesn't have that meaning anymore. Women are not property anymore. It has changed that meaning, so I do get why people do it. And you know, that's cool if you want to do that. But for me, nah. And I'm just not big. Like, I'm not going to send out invitations. Like,
I didn't even think of that.
Oh, man.
There won't even be enough people. I'll just start
everyone is getting, like, a Facebook event invite to my wedding.
Fuck yeah. Why waste the money?
The invitations, they're so beautiful when you see them done, but all the invitations I have gotten have gone in the bin.
Yes. I think the wedding stationery isn't really a thing anymore.
No, and I get back in the day before the internet was a thing. Yes, obviously that had to be done. But, yeah, not doing that. I'm not doing favours. I just do not get the point of a wedding favour because it's always something cheap because you're giving it to everyone.
Sure.
And it's nothing anyone ever wants unless it's like a little bottle of alcohol.
Unless it's a shot. I actually went to a wedding in Mexico and they gave us all little tequila bottles and then as part of the toast we had to drink our little, which was kind of cool. That was like probably the coolest wedding favour. Outside of that,
wedding favours, I just think like they're such a waste of money and they get left behind.
It's like a bonbon. It's like the toy out of the bonbon. It's like you do it but it's usually shit.
Yeah, so, I feel like too.
And expensive.
Yeah, especially because, like, my partner is Brazilian and they don't do a lot of the things we do. So, like, a lot of the stuff that's expected.
Oh, yeah, what do they do?
Well, they have, like, a few different things, but to them it's more about the people and the party than it is about the finishing touches. I feel like we focus...
That's cool. I'm on board with that.
We focus a lot on the aesthetics, and I feel like especially too with Instagram and all of that, it's like the stakes just getting raised, and that's why weddings are getting, you know, because now you've got to have these pretty invitations and the favours and the tables have got to be these beautiful things and the flowers and it just keeps getting more and more, and now you've got to have a photo booth and now you've got to have, you know, a DJ, or you might want fireworks. Like, you know, it just keeps, like, raising that stake. With, like, Brazil, it's just not like that, because a lot of the time, you know, only very rich people have those kind of weddings. So everyone else, you know, it's very traditional for all of the people to bring a plate, buffet style, very popular. And it's just about, like, the good time and the partying, the music.
Wedding carnival. I love that.
And when I told him that most weddings in Australia finish around 10 or 11, he was shocked. Because Brazilian parties don't get started till 11.
What?
Yes. No, if you had a wedding that finished at 10, it would be not okay in the Brazilian community.
So if you and Chago get married, it's going to be like a whole festival, because there'll still be like, you still got to accommodate, well, if you want to accommodate to the oldies that are like, all right, it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
And then the young people that are raging, or the people that are raging.
Yeah, but they just don't go in on the aesthetics as much.
Which is cool. It's more about the vibe.
There are, like, a few things, like, that I would want to do. Like, you know, the first dance, very traditional. I really like that.
Yeah. Gorgeous. I actually think I'd do a first look as well. It depends. If I ended up having to have a big wedding, my caveat on that is we got to do a first look. Take the bloody edge off the day.
I'm on the fence, because on one hand I'm like, when he first sees you walking down the aisle, it's the, like, wow, and he better be crying when I'm walking down the aisle.
He would cry, surely.
Yeah. Oh, if he doesn't, I'll turn back around and be like, start it again. But then I do get the first look, because you don't get a lot of time, just you and them. From what I've heard from every one of my friends that's gotten married, is it goes by so fast. Everything happens in a blur, and you don't get a lot of alone time.
Yeah.
So I'm on the fence about the first look.
I think another thing I'd do if I was doing a bigger wedding is get ready and then immediately do photos, because I do my first look and then immediately do the photos with the bridal party. So then when the wedding starts, we don't have to piss off. Like, it's shit. Like, not shit, but I think it's just not as flowing of the day. Like, you know how after they get married, they go off for photos. Maybe do most of the, you know, the group photos in the morning, and then by the time you get married, you can just enjoy the party with everyone else. Like,
I would prefer to kind of, like, get the photos, you know, the cocktail hour that everyone does. Just getting, like, the action shots of people enjoying themselves. I feel like that just shows more of the wedding. I'm not a big fan of the stage photos, like the group together. Like, you obviously want to make sure you get ones with your, like, parents and your family and stuff like that, the bridal party. But I think, like, the socializing with all your guests and getting the photographer to get those action shots is just so much better. And I particularly do not like the big group photo that you have to do, because no one puts it anywhere.
Where does it go? Like, it's not like
there's
it's
so
on
many
the olden
people
days
there
where you'd put it on your wall.
Yeah, there's so many people there that it's not going to be a good photo, and it takes so long to wrangle. It's like wrangling cats getting... Yeah, so I'm like, nah, I would not do, like, the group photo. And I don't think I would get any photos, like, getting ready and stuff. Like, I would just get my friends to take photos, but I think I'd want the photographer to stay for the party. I want the photos of people going.
Yes, like look, and...
people in the moment on the dance floor sending it.
Yes. Would you get married in Australia or Brazil?
We've talked about that, and we're both, like, 50-50 on both options, because it's just, like, the logistics. I'm like, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Because, does he have a big family?
He's got a huge family.
Shit.
Yeah. I'm like...
No, we're all going to Brazil.
Okay, so I found this one, and it's from Am I the Arsehole for Demanding My Fiancé and His Mum to Pay for a New Wedding Dress. Me, 26 female, and my fiancé, 28 male, have been engaged for 4 months. We're planning on having our wedding on October 18th. My future mother-in-law kept annoying me, sending me suggestions for choosing the right wedding dress, and said that she knew better and tried to get me to approve of the wedding dresses that she had chosen. And when she could not enforce her decision, she demanded that I take her with me to buy my wedding dress so she could have an opinion. Before I went shopping, I called to ask her if she wanted to come, but she started making excuses about how busy she was with my sister-in-law. I went shopping with my mum and was able to find a really nice dress. It cost me a little bit over what I saved up for, but it was worth it. I made some changes to it and it was perfect. It arrived to my apartment at the end of the week and I made sure that it was stored in a safe place so it didn't get ruined. Yesterday, I got back from my mum's house and found that my fiancé wasn't home and neither was my dress. I called him immediately knowing that he must have taken it to show his mum since she was continuously asking to see it and I refused to send her pictures of it on Facebook. I was mad when it was confirmed that my fiancé took it to show his mum. He said he was going to be home in 30 minutes and after he went to the supermarket, I waited longer than that and when he arrived, I ran down to go and get my dress which was buried under a bunch of groceries. I took it out to check on it and the zipper was broken and the dress itself, the fabric was all stretched out. I was like, what the fuck happened to it? My mother-in-law must have tried it on because it looked ruined. The straps were all loose and I had to call my mother-in-law when my fiancé told me that his mum and his sister both took turns on trying it on. I was absolutely livid. She told me she did nothing wrong and that I was just making a big deal out of nothing. She said she'd get a replacement for the broken zipper, but I told her she needed to pay for a new dress since it was all stretched out and no longer fitting me. She refused and said I probably wasn't happy with my choice of dress and that I was looking for a way to get her to buy me a new one. I yelled at her for trying it on and ruining it and that she and my fiancé were both responsible for ruining the dress and they should be paying to get a new one. It's done, it's no longer fitting, the straps are in horrible condition. My mum said she would pay for it to be fixed, but I just hate it now knowing someone else wore it before me. I'm mad at both of them and seriously considering postponing the wedding.
The audacity. When I first heard you say that he took it, I was like, oh my God, bro's trying on the dress himself. I was like, mind you, my last bloody boyfriend wore women's underpants, so that is something that does happen.
Each to their own.
Trauma. Anyways, so he... to go behind his partner's back and take her dress and something that's so important to her without mentioning anything and then letting his family do that, I think you don't go ahead with the wedding. Or you need to have a very stern word to your husband.
Like, the level of disrespect, especially because one, like, it's not know if they're traditional or not, but the tradition is the groom doesn't see the wedding dress. Yeah. So obviously him taking it means he's seen it and like that they've tried it on. And I feel like it would have been a conversation that they had where his mum's asked for photos and she's like, no, I don't want to send them. So they would have hashed that out already that she's like, no, I do not want to send photos. And then the fact that he then takes the dress out of the apartment, which I'm like, bold, what stuff could happen, you know? And then lets his sister and mum try it on, and you just know they would have been shit talking.
Yeah, like, that's and on top of all of this, so one, there's the disrespect from the partner, disrespect from sister and mum, and then they won't replace it, which is, again, I mean, it's almost like you've had this little bit of divine intervention where it's like, do I want to do this?
The true colours, like
this family sounds terrible. So,
and it's not just a dress. It is the dress, the wedding dress. And to let his family try it on is just crossing. There's no way that he could play dumb in this either, to be like, oh, I didn't realise it would be that upsetting or it's that important, because we all know wedding dresses are important. You'd have to be living under a rock if you could be like, oh, I didn't realise that a wedding dress was important. And it seems like you've already got like a massive issue with the mother crossing boundaries, and that if he hasn't kind of stepped in before this, he's not going to step in after you get married. Like, nothing's going to change, and it seems like she is very much a monster-in-law.
Yeah, gross. Yeah, put him in the bin.
Let's have a look at what some other people said.
What did people say? I hope they hung him out to dry, because there's just...
Yeah, the overall vote is he is an asshole. Girl, do you hear yourself? Your fiancé took your wedding dress without your permission and allowed multiple people to try it on.
Yep.
Do you understand how disrespectful and inappropriate that is? You no longer have a bad mother-in-law problem, you have a huge fiancé problem. Needless to say, I'd be doing more than postponing. Yeah, so she has replied back to this comment and said, yes, I am aware to how awful and wrong this is. I am stunned for who wouldn't be upset by what they did. Who would want to wear the dress that was worn before them? I hate even looking at the dress now. I despise the fact I admired it so much. I was so happy when I found it. And now I feel heartbroken. I feel so bad for even leaving it at the apartment.
Yeah, and if you don't have that level of trust in a relationship, what are you doing? Like,
you should be able
your dress is fucked already, so
you should be able to leave your personal items at your apartment and not have to worry that your partner is going to do something to disrespect your personal items. So someone has written another comment saying, this is a preview of your entire marriage. It's only going to get worse, not better. He's not suddenly going to start standing up for you against your mother-in-law or your sister-in-law after you are married. That is wishful thinking or delusional. He is definitely not going to respect you more for marrying him or trying harder. But getting married doesn't fix those problems.
No. I've been lately on TikTok falling down a rabbit hole, which is the mummy's boy, like... there's a TV show called Mother Dearest or something.
Yes, I've seen those.
Oh, my gosh. And it's like a show where, and this is not exactly this scenario, but, you know, it's kind of, the groom-to-be has got a really weird, like an over-connection with his mum, right? So one of the husbands, I mean, this was really gross, but one of the husbands almost, like, flirted with his mum all the time. And
enmeshment. Have you heard of the terminology enmeshment?
No, what's that?
Enmeshment is... Okay, so enmeshment can happen, like, between family members, but you hear it a lot more about, like, mothers and sons. And it's basically, like, when the sort of normal relationship kind of crosses, like, the boundaries and they become a bit too attached. So a lot of the time it will be mums raising, like, the perfect son. And it's kind of like they're raising what they wanted their partner to be. And they get, like... too attached to them, and when they then find like someone, like a partner that is then going to be replacing the mum struggles to handle it.
What I have been fully in this rabbit hole on TikTok. So there was a mum and son, and he used to flirt with his mum all the time and be like, my mum's so hot, and it's interesting. The woman that he ended up picking, she came on TikTok. They didn't end up going through it. Looked just like her mum. It looked just like the mum. And they were at a pool party, and he was being so inappropriate with his mum, like being like, mum carries me like a baby, and it's just was so weird.
How big is he if his mum can carry him like a baby?
You gotta look it up. And he, it was gross. And then he's like, oh, my mum's done that my whole life. Why is it weird now? And it's like, well, you're a grown-ass man. And there was another man whose mum... so it's a modern wedding. Like, this isn't very long ago. The mum wanted to wear, like, a burgundy dress to the wedding. And then the bride had, like, for her, like, they'd had organised, like, a pretty simple suit. So it might have been, like, a navy or a black suit for him. But it looked very smart. It was a lovely suit. And then the mum came along to one of the fittings, completely tore down the bride, and then... got this guy into like a velvet red suit, but it didn't look it didn't look cool, it didn't look Bruno Mars.
A lot of people can pull off a velvet red suit.
No, and it wasn't a modern cut, it was an older cut of suit, so it was quite baggy, it wasn't like fitted to him at all, and it just looked awful. And he ended up telling the bride, no, I've got to match my mum. This is, and the mum was like, see, you're trying to put him in a corner. It's his day too. You're trying to outshine him in your dress. So she had him in this, like, bright red suit. But I don't think they ended up getting married either. Like, fuck that. Ew.
I'm surprised that relationship even got to that stage.
All of them, it was just weird, like, how they all, there was a whole show about it, which I fell down that rat. And it's interesting, I think, in TikTok land, like, you just fall down a little rabbit hole. And that's
because people put up, like,
little
episodes.
And I'm just like, what the fuck is this?
This is a bit of a divisive question. Kids at weddings.
I feel bad for saying this. I don't have children, but I've got a couple of nephews. I think maybe if there's children in your bridal party, for me personally, maybe if there's children in your bridal party, that's okay. I just think... as a former child, I do not fucking remember a wedding I've been to as a child that I was like, chef's kiss, love that experience. As a former child, I just remember being annoying my parents saying I'm bored. Because for kids, weddings are fucking boring. Yeah, and then you're annoying the adults because
and they don't get the special, like they don't get why things are so special or meaningful because they've got no concept. But
No.
I'm 100% against kids at weddings.
Yeah.
Who knows? Might change it. I think if you are getting married and you already have kids and you want them at your wedding, different story.
Yeah, totally.
And you know, provide, like, and if you want people to bring their kids, you know, and it's a kid-friendly wedding where you're going to have an area for them, go for it. For me personally, no. And I think most of my friends that do have babies and kids, they don't want to bring their kids because they want to have a time, like, they want to enjoy the wedding and they don't want to be necessarily having to constantly look after their kids while the wedding is happening.
Yeah.
Like, they want to be able to drink and not be like, where is our child? Like,
yeah, and that's it. It's, I had a friend, this is actually a great idea. They had a wedding that they were going to that was a little bit away from where they lived. And they just brought their mum along and paid for accommodation, and mum had a holiday, and then just on the, you know, they had a holiday with their mum, and then just on the night of the wedding, mum watched the kids, and that was it. That was like a workaround there, but I can't think of when.
Well, you get like so much notice if you cannot arrange. If someone has said like, no, we're not having kids, you get so much notice for a wedding. Like it's a year out. If you cannot arrange to get like a sitter or something, and like stuff does happen, but majority of us, you get plenty of time to organise a sitter for your child, family, friends, you know, someone. You don't have to have your kid there. And I feel like, you know, the people that like crack a tanny when they can't take their kids to the wedding. I'm just like, why do you want to? Don't you want a night to have just fun and let loose?
Like, well, if that's the case, maybe, and it's so different now. Like you can Zoom into a wedding, like that's something that happens. Maybe you shouldn't be at the wedding. Like just if it's too stressful for you or whatever, just, you know, be there in spirit.
And I've got a friend that's like a photographer that's done tons of weddings, and they said the amount of times that kids have ruined a moment.
Really?
They've put their hands in the cake, because, you know, it takes only a second for you to, like, lose track of them and they're off. Put their hands in the cake before it's been cut.
Yeah.
One kid's knocked over the wedding cake before it was cut. They didn't even get a photo with it.
Yeah.
During the dances, the kids have gone out on the dance floor because they don't understand why they can't be out there dancing and ruin that moment.
I didn't even think of that. Actually, one of the things I saw on Reddit was someone saying they had a they had a couple of younger cousins or a distant cousin that they had nothing to do with them, and these are just kids. And this child's in almost every wedding photo of theirs, because just kids just hanging around, man. And the kid is like, you know, thinking they're the star, and the photographer's like, oh, this must be like an important family member. And the bride's like, I have nothing to do with this child, like, you know, at all. And this child is in all my weddings. So no children at weddings. What are your thoughts on drinking at weddings?
Definitely. Oh, my God. I'm dating a Brazilian. Like, if I said it was a dry wedding, I feel like his family would leave. They would have a conniption.
I think drinking at weddings, as long as you don't get too pissed, you take away from the bride and groom's moment. If you've got a booze, like I've been bloody... My friends listening to this will be like, Samara's a piss wreck at weddings. And you know what? I am. But I also taper myself. It's a very
Australian thing.
It is. I would get judged more not being pissed at their weddings, and they'd be like, boo, as to me actually being drunk. And a wedding I went to, and at this wedding, it was a friend of mine who was marrying a footy guy. The footy guy had a friend who, he was just a bit of a party boy, which, fine, fair enough, whatever. But he was saying to them, like, the whole time geeing them up, saying, I'm going to treat your wedding like a Mad Monday. If you know
it's not a Mad Monday, but it's a wedding. Treat it as a wedding.
Totally have fun. But, like, if you guys have seen what they do on Mad Mondays, they're like fucking naked, wearing women's dresses. They're being disgusting, but whatever. They're pissing in each other's mouths. Cool. This bloke, so for one, you know, this bloke, when it came to, he got to the point at, when we were at dinner, where he was so, like, inappropriate, loud, and it's interesting I say this, it is funny, but, like, at the time it was very much not funny, but saying it, I'm like, fuck, this is funny. He got naked, like, he got just naked, and he's running around naked. And my friend, at the time, being in a bridal party with your friend who, there's this naked man running around her wedding, it's not very funny for her at that time because her grandma's there.
I would not be impressed because it takes away from her day.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing that people remember from this wedding is the naked dude, not her actual wedding. And you don't know what her family's like or his family's like, whether that would be the utmost disrespectful thing.
Totally. You don't know where people's boundaries are at. So old mate's naked. They ended up catching him. So he was almost like a slippery pig, a greased up pig running around the yard, and everyone's trying to catch him. It was utterly ridiculous. And at the time, like, even when I'm saying it, it was fucking hilarious. After, on the day, it was totally not. So the boys are trying to catch him. Eventually they get him, and they had him, 2 boys on one ankle, 2 boys on the arms. They're, like, swinging him up a hill, and I remember just seeing him getting carried up the hill to get put away somewhere. And, yeah, that was the end of it for him. So at this same wedding, so I guess maybe to show the different kinds of drunk, at this same wedding, so we sort of stitched ourselves up a bit. So we'd spent all morning sipping champagne, getting ready, you know, really hyped up. We were only about 25. It was the first girl in our friend group to get married, so it was so exciting that this shit's happening, man. We're growing up. So adult. Champagne. She got married, so we'd been boozing all morning. She got married, and then we went to take photos, and when we took the photos, we grabbed an esky, and the esky was just full of booze, and it was such a hot day, and we were just sculling drinks from this esky, which was totally a stitch up. So by the time we got to the actual, you know, wedding, you know, where what's it called, like the walk-in? Yeah, and the walk-in thing they do. By the time it was our time to do the walk-in, we were all pretty pissed. But, you know, not totally out of control. Mind you, in my toast I did say cheers, cunts, which those who heard it thought it was funny. I wasn't the naked man. And in a weird way, when I saw
Poor grandma, she went through it at that wedding. Naked man
the niece swearing at Nana. No, they were pretty... Look, everyone thought it was funny. We also had, so when I was leaving, so I'm like this, stumbling around, little mess, and I guess the kitchen was closing and we were going to like a little after party that was on the same, they had like another tent or marquee set up that was on the same block of land, and the kitchen gave me, because I was a bridesmaid, they're like, you take this tray of tiramisu. And the other marquee was like up a hill. So I am in a absolute fucking state, stumbling up this hill with this heavy ass freaking tiramisu. I ended up like taking a load off and taking a seat, and I was like, it smelled pretty good. So I started like eating it. I was like, oh fuck, it's like espresso martinis. So I started eating the tiramisu with my bare hands like a fucking animal. Got up, had my little pit stop, took a load off, got up. Don't know what happened to the tiramisu, actually. But what I do know is I woke up covered in brown shit, and I was like, I've shit myself, or I've fallen over. Like, I had brown all over me, which I must have had on me all night. And, yeah, when I smelt it, it was coffee. It was the tiramisu.
Oh, thank God.
And I think...
Did you have that moment when you woke up and you're like, what is this?
Yeah, I woke up and I was like, the anxiety was immediate because I was like, what the fuck happened? And then I recalled what had happened and I was like, I am a fucking animal. However, that couple was really boozy. They had a great time. I think all these little like things like Samara with the tiramisu.
Well, nothing could be worse than being the drunk person that runs around naked.
Naked
like,
man.
no matter what you do from that point, it's all good.
Totally. And I think, with drinking at weddings, the thing is, drink, get drunk, read the fucking room. If everyone is having a lit old time, go for it, but don't take away from the bride's and the groom's experience.
So this story does come from Am I the Arsehole as well, and this one is titled, Am I the Arsehole for refusing to pay for my daughter's wedding because she won't let me walk her down the aisle? We've touched on this briefly about the walking down the aisle. So
what is the story, Dan?
So do you want to know if he's been voted the arsehole or not the arsehole yet, or do you want to wait till the end of the story?
Wait till the end.
Wait till the end? Okay. I am a 48-year-old man, and my 19-year-old daughter has always been an independent thinker. I raised her to be independent and to think of herself, which I've always appreciated. However, recently it has hit a bit of a snag. She got engaged and decided that she doesn't want me to walk her down the aisle at her wedding. She argues that her mother and I don't own her. What I was just saying.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. You don't know. You raised an independent daughter that becomes too independent. You're like, you don't welcome me down the aisle.
I'm like, is this me? She argues that her mother and I do not own her, and therefore we have no right to give her away. I feel hurt by this because we never treated her like an object or a piece of property. Rather, we've tried our best to provide her with a wonderful life. Her stance seems extreme to me, and despite discussion, she is refusing to budge on this issue. I respect her choices, but I feel like she is disregarding our feelings completely. As a response, I told her that if she feels that way, I won't be paying for her wedding. I don't want to come across as controlling or manipulative. It is true I don't own her. I also don't owe her a fully funded wedding. She can pay for her own wedding if she insists on that stance. I am feeling quite conflicted about this. Am I the arsehole? There's a few edits, but I'll get your opinion first.
Damn, it's a bit of a tricky one because she's super independent, but then also potentially has the expectation that parents will pay for the wedding. I don't know who's.
But then I also feel like if you're saying, because you won't let me walk you down the aisle, I'm now going to be taking...
An eye for an eye.
Yeah, an eye for an eye. Everyone ends up blind. And you say, I wanted her to be independent, but...
Not that independent.
Yeah, you kind of, you don't get to choose that. Like, you don't be like, I want her to be independent.
Actually, that's
as long
not
as
fair.
it doesn't conflict with me.
Yes.
And what I want off her.
Yeah. And, if she's got siblings and they've paid for the other siblings' weddings and then they're having a caveat that, it should be done in a certain... It's like anything. It's putting a caveat on it that it should be done in a certain way, or he's got to wear a certain suit, or any of those things based on that is just not really on. It's,
It would be like, I can see the edits here, but I haven't read them. It will be interesting to see if he's involved in the wedding in any other way. Like, is he doing the father-daughter dance, or is he making a speech or anything like that? Because I feel like if he is involved in other ways, why does he have to do the down the aisle?
Yeah.
I can understand if he's paying for everything and he's not included at all. She's not doing anything with him. He's just the money, the bank. That's something different. But I feel like you got to pick your battles. And,
yeah, totally.
And it's, for me, because obviously I don't want to do that, I think it's legitimate that she doesn't want to have that happen, but I would then include my dad in some other way.
Yeah.
So that way he's still a part of it.
Yeah. What's...
All right, let's get to the edits. Edit number 1. So this isn't about me making the wedding about me. Walking her down the aisle while all eyes are on her anyway, and sitting down is hardly making the wedding about me. It's about her attitude. She has had every opportunity in her life so far to exclude us from this day is a spit in the face. It is rejecting on everything we've done for her, everything we sacrificed. It's selfish. 90% of the wedding traditions and symbols had root in something that we don't acknowledge today. So should we stop doing all of them? The rings, the flowers, the dresses, the parties, the cake, the flower girls. The father walking her down the aisle has just been about respect and pride, love and honouring the father-daughter relationship. For so much longer, it's not about ownership. Independent thinking does not mean being rude, selfish thinking. Being an independent thinker does not give someone else license to disregard or disrespect the thoughts, feelings, or perspectives of others. Independent thinking is about maintaining the ability to think critically and to form one's own opinions while remaining respectful and considerate of others. It's a balance between asserting individuality and engaging in meaningful and respectful interactions with others. Edit 2. Also note that our relationship is not so weak that this disagreement will ruin our relationship. We are still close with each other in spite of this. There is zero chance of her not inviting us to the wedding, regardless of who's paying for it, or cutting off contact without withholding grandchildren. I feel sorry for anyone that suggested this was a possibility. Likewise, there is zero chance of us refusing to go to her wedding or cutting her out of our will. In life, people disagree, even strongly. It's a natural part of life. We don't end lifelong relationships over it. Update. There is a lot to this.
Go. I'm here for it. Because the way he writes, like, that's good that it hasn't destroyed their relationship. That's that's pretty mature.
Update for all the people out there. I've decided to give my daughter a gift in the same amount as her older sister's wedding cost. She can use this for whatever she wants. For not the asshole people out there, thank you. Most of you get it. My daughter has also agreed to figure out a way to include us in the wedding that does not involve us giving her away. We are still in the early wedding planning stages, and she is almost 20, so she'll likely be 21 before she actually gets married. Thank you for the concern. I guess I approve of the groom-to-be, if that matters to anyone. We disagree, but that doesn't mean that it is a relation-ending event. My daughter is laughing hilariously at all of you that are saying I will be disinvited from the wedding or cutting us off from future grandkids. I feel sorry for all of you. That is pretty manipulative, and regardless of what you say, I raised her better than that.
It still has a bit of an ick vibe about it. His attitude has such an ick vibe about it. Granddaddy ick. And she's so young.
Yeah, so he did get voted not the arsehole, but I'm on the fence. There are some comments. So one of the top comments is, not the arsehole, you heard her, she's independent. Independent people pay for their own bills.
Yeah.
Which I do agree with, but I think if you've paid for the sister's wedding...
Yeah, it might not have a good taste in the mouth.
It is good that they have come to that sort of conclusion where they are going to be finding an alternative, like making a solution.
Yeah.
But the fact that he said straight away, instead of, well, can you include me in anything else?
He's like, I'll take the money away.
I'll take the money away.
Gross.
I just don't. It gives me the ick.
You're not here for it.
It gives me the ick. I just feel like the fact that his first response was, I'm not going to pay for it because I'm not. It's like throwing a tanty. When he could have just said, well, what else can we do? Like, can I at least do the father-daughter dance or whatever? Like, I understand, you know, you don't want me walking down the aisle. Could maybe I be waiting for you down the aisle and just give you a hug beforehand?
Why is it so important? It sounds like he's got an ego.
Yeah, I just feel like, it was a bit controlling. Most people say he's not the arsehole, but just...
Throw court, say it. He's the arsehole. That's what you say. He is the arsehole. Fuck you, 49-year-old man.
Yeah, I just don't, no.
Nah, don't like
Just don't like it. Just icky. So this is one of my last stories for you guys. And once again, it's from Emma the Arsehole, because they just have some great stories. Am I the arsehole for uninviting my mother and my aunts from my wedding after what they said about my fiancé?
Oh, shit.
I, 25 male, am extremely lucky to be marrying the woman of my dreams, Maya, 24 female. I'm originally American but moved to Norway when I was 19 to get a college education without paying an arm and a leg for it. I met Maya when I was 20 and we have been together ever since. We recently got engaged and our wedding is planned for this fall. I wanted to tell my family in person about it, so we planned a trip to my hometown to announce it. This is the third time my parents, 55 male and 52 female, are meeting her in person. We had a big dinner at my aunt's house, 57 female Deborah, where we announced it and most of the family was ecstatic and congratulated us. My mum and Deborah and one other auntie did not look happy. I really didn't pay much attention to it at first, but as the evening proceeded, Maya told me that she felt super uncomfortable with the glares that she was getting from the three of them. She's quite quiet and shy and not very confident in her English, so we talked in Norwegian between the two of us for most of the part of the night, and of course when talking with my family we spoke English. But I started to feel the chill from my mother's glares whenever the two of us were talking. I told Maya I'd be right back and talked with my dad about what the deal was. He kind of struggled to tell me, "You know how your mum gets with women you're seeing. Don't worry about this. She's just upset to see her son putting roots down an ocean away." He was so wrong about me not needing to worry. After dessert, my mum stood up to give a toast.
Oh, no. No cheers, cunt.
It's not going well. You can just tell it's not. She's been stewing.
Yeah.
Thinking about what she's going to say.
Deborah's bloody pissed off too. They're all cranky. I wonder what it is.
Let's find out.
Go on.
So this is what the mum said. "Cheers to my son and his fiancée. She may not be the best woman for him, but I'm sure he'll realise that once he sees what a gold-digging slut she is."
What? Hopefully she doesn't understand enough English to understand what she's saying. She's just like, cheers.
So she finishes off with, "What a gold-digging slut she is. Or maybe she'll grow a conscience and save him from himself. Cheers."
Wow.
Drop the mic.
You've just destroyed your relationship with your son.
Where do you go from that?
Horrible.
Maya left the room crying, and there was a long silence, aside from my mother and my aunties snickering. What are they, like 12?
They sound like the evil ladies out of, like, Disney movies. They're like...
That's exact. The
like
ugly stepsisters.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
You realise that the choice for who the most important woman in my life is hasn't been you for a long time. You've not been in the running for nearly a decade. I actually love her and would choose to kick the two nuts over you. The three of you aren't welcome at the wedding, and Maya and I will be staying at a hotel for the rest of the time we are here. And then I left as quickly as possible with Maya. I feel bad for putting Maya through that and don't want to have to deal with that or anything like that on the day that's supposed to be one of the happiest days of our life. But at the same time, I'm getting calls from my family about how unreasonable I am being, that my mum was drunk and is just worried about me, etc., etc. My sister, who is NC with my mother, told me I royally fucked up and probably burned most of the bridges with our family, or at least on my mother's side. And a lot of my mother's side have said they won't come unless my mother and my aunts are invited. My dad said he can't come unless my mum can go, and I realise he really wants to be there. I don't know what to do. And Maya said it's my choice, but she doesn't really want them there. Am I the arsehole?
No, you're not. I feel like the family is behaving so poorly in that there's no accountability for their actions, and like to try and they've made the wedding about them.
And I feel like this is just the straw that broke the camel's back. It doesn't seem like this is just coming out of nowhere from the comment she made. I feel like there would have been multiple comments leading up to this one big thing, and that's why he's just like, nah, I've got to cut her out because it has just gone too far this time. It would seem really odd if they were all fine until that calling her a gold-digging slut just doesn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's fucked. What did he end up doing? Is there any more on
Yes, there are some edits coming on in. My sister isn't siding with my mum's side of the family. She knows that I want to have my family in my life, and so me royally fucking up in reference to that as well. The fact that she knows my dad probably won't be able to come because of this. Edit 2. I did not expect this much response and did not expect so many comments in regarding my father. I do not want to cut him out of my life, but there has been so many great comments that have really made me question some things. After talking with Maya, we both agree that since he is someone I do genuinely care about, I should give him one more chance. I actually decided whether he wanted to be a part of my life going forward. I just got off the phone with my father and asked him to have one-on-one, and he agreed, and we will be meeting in a couple of hours. From what he has said and how he sounds when I called him, I'm hopeful that he can see just how toxic my mother's behaviour was, not only regarding the toast but over the course of my sisters' lives. Edit 2.5.
How'd he go?
I almost forgot to mention this. The wedding is happening near Maya's hometown. 2, the elopement is not an option, nor do we want to do this. Maya's family is very supportive, and I am excited about a traditional Norwegian wedding. Edit 3. I had a nice, candid discussion with my father. He said he denied it for years because he felt like he had been a failure. If he divorced my mother and knew standing up to her would also mean she would divorce him. He apologized for failing me and my sister and told him the only apology I would accept is if he strapped his balls back on.
Oh, shit.
Them's fighting words.
Wow.
And chose his kids over his wife. He hesitated. I could really see the conflict in his eyes. I almost caved seeing him like that, but before that could happen, I told him he had to know where his balls were, and once he did, how to contact me, and that he only knows what he really wants, and all he needs to do is let me know before the wedding, and I hope that he can make it. I'll let you know what happens. So some of the comments are, God, I am so sorry, but maybe it is time to burn that bridge. Your sister did the right thing by going non-contact with your mum, and maybe it is your turn. So it does seem like the mum is got a history of just poor behaviour, and not towards just Maya, but to other people in the family. It is so sad to see, like, the dad has not been able to step up for his children. Because I just don't get how you could be okay. Like, I know that she is their mother, but to be okay with your kids being treated that way, and to to the point where obviously one of the sisters has gone non-contact. So there is a history of this.
Yeah.
And to just keep doing it and, like, letting that just not saying anything, you become just as bad as the person that is doing it.
Yeah. Saying silence is acceptance.
And I think if the dad decides not to go because of that, that says more about him than it does about you. Yeah. Because he knows that the mum, it's her actions that have led to this situation. And him not going is punishing his kid for his mum's bad actions.
Totally.
And if he does that, then it's like, well, you shouldn't be at the wedding. If you can't support your kids and stand up for them, then you should not be there.
Totally. This is a little bit long, but bear with me. My wedding was crashed in 2005, and I've never written the story down, is the heading. It is under wedding shaming on Reddit. This was 2005. The movie came out, and crashing weddings was a thing. Although I loved the movie, I hadn't seen it happen in real life. A few weeks before our wedding, I met a classical pianist named Roberto. We used to run and exercise together, and he was full of interesting stories. He was a world traveller. He was in town for one season of our orchestra. We met him for dinner at his apartment, I'd say a week before the wedding. When we arrived, Roberto introduced us to his girlfriend Claudia, who was extremely attractive and from Bulgaria. She didn't speak much English at all. She came here to model, and it was very obvious because she looked the part. She was very smart as well. We had a great dinner and invited them to our wedding. Nothing out of the ordinary. I had a few more runs with Roberto before the wedding, and I realised he'd never been to an American wedding before and had no idea about our traditions. He asked me about the schedule, what sort of gift he should bring, and I told him about our registry, which by that time had all been accounted for. I told him many people who don't do the registry give cash or another gift of their choosing, but I told him no gift was necessary. It was all very last minute. Fast forward to our wedding. Roberto and his girlfriend didn't come to the service, no problem. Once we got to the venue, still no Roberto. It was a big day and a lot going on, but we were both wondering what had happened to him. Once food was served, I saw Roberto and his girlfriend come through the centre doors facing our table. His girlfriend was carrying a very large present wrapped in white paper. We had very few gifts on our table, if any. The large white present stood out, and Roberto unknowingly made quite an entrance with his girlfriend, which immediately triggered my drunk friends to swarm the model and much older boyfriend. After the reception, we were packing up the gift table and card box, and Roberto's gift was nowhere to be found. We went to our hotel and we were leaving for our honeymoon the next morning. We went through the cards shortly thereafter, and one read, "Thank you for the wonderful time. We crashed your wedding and helped ourselves to a gift." We knew it was Roberto's gift that had been stolen. We weren't calling the cops and just chalked it up to a good story. We wrote our thank you cards, and when it came to Roberto and Claudia, we gave them a great meeting you, looking forward to seeing you soon, and thank you so much for the gift. That didn't cut it for Roberto, and during our run, he was asking specifics about their gift. Did we take it on their honeymoon? Did we like it? We could return it. I quickly fessed up and told him the story that a wedding crasher had stolen his present. He said, "Juguetes sexuales, huh?" I speak Spanish but didn't know the phrase. They brought a Costco-sized box and filled it with sex toys for us.
Oh, can you imagine being the wedding crashers?
And you've got all these sex toys. And before it comes to mind, no, I do not believe they wanted to swing. We hung out a lot with them. It wasn't ever a thing. Roberto said he just thought it would be a nice surprise for our honeymoon, and it felt more cultural. So to sum it up, there's a wedding crasher out there somewhere with all our sex toys.
1, what a surprise for the wedding crasher. 2,
I know.
very bold gift to give to someone that you're not... It's a bold gift no matter what, but that you're not that close with, a box full of sex toys. Very bold gift.
That's crazy.
I
Well,
would
they
love
just
to
said,
know
like...
what they put in it.
Yeah, and it would have been good. So she actually links, she actually links a thing to Roberto's Wikipedia, and he's a very famous pianist. So, yeah, he was
I thought for a second you just said he's got a very famous penis.
Yeah, no.
That's literally where my mind...
Yeah, it might be a famous penis.
I was like, that's on Wikipedia.
Yeah, and the model actually has a bit of a profile, but she changed the model's name for the story and was like, look, I think she's quite a private person now. She doesn't do anything in the public eye, so I don't want to share links.
It's one thing to, like, wedding crash, but then to take property, that is breaking the law. That's theft. Like, it's not like...
How sad.
You know, like, I wouldn't personally be happy if someone, like, wedding crashed at my wedding just because it's for my friends and family. It's special. I don't want some random strangers there. But then to take a gift from the table, like, it's not like, oh, we took a thing of flowers or...
Yeah.
Even that's, like, rude and disrespectful and still theft. But to take a gift that someone took the time to go and buy, like, what the fuck?
And it would have been that because they went and bought a big Costco box, so it would have been massive on the table.
Yeah, and that's probably why that one got taken, because the wedding crash is probably like, there's something good in that.
Yeah, but it's full of dicks. Well, I don't know. They
got a box of dicks.
Yeah, literally.
Dick in a box.
Stolen. So these poor people, but, you know. I, 23 female, got sloppy drunk at my boyfriend, 28 males, brother's wedding. How can I salvage this relationship? My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years, and this happened at his brother's wedding. My boyfriend was, of course, the best man. On the wedding day, after the ceremony, I was hanging out with his sister and a few of other mutual friends. We had a few drinks and waited for the reception to begin and for the photos to be finished. I remember thinking I drank a little bit too much and I was a bit tipsy. At the reception, a few of the other family members prodded us to have some shots to kick off the reception party, and I went along with that as well. As a result, by the time the reception kicked off, I was already feeling pretty buzzed. I was sitting at a table with my boyfriend's parents, his sister and her boyfriend, plus an aunt and uncle, so it'd be the family table. My boyfriend was at the head of the table. I remember realising at this point that I needed to play it cool and not let anyone realise that I was drunk. We made chit-chat, listened to speeches, etc., and I was feeling like I'd actually pulled it off. Also, for some reason, I kept on drinking wine with dinner. As soon as the dinner was, and that's dangerous, like having people like top up your wine glass, like that is so dangerous.
Especially when you're sitting down, because there's something about when you sit down and drink and then as soon as you get up, it just hits you.
Yeah, That's exactly it. As soon as dinner was done, my boyfriend came over and dragged me out of the hall. He was irate that I was shit-faced before dinner in front of his parents on such an important day. Obviously, I was not pulling it off like I thought I was. I told him that I was sorry and I hadn't meant to, but I thought it was a celebration and people get drunk at weddings and so on. Eventually he stormed off. My next poor decision was immediately to head back to the bar for more shots. She just is like, well, fuck it. I've come this far. I don't remember why, other than I was angry. I don't remember much more from this point forward. I remember hugging his dad for some reason. I definitely told some very dirty drunk jokes to the bride and groom. I'm told nothing else terrible had happened other than my questionable dancing and an argument with my boyfriend and a few tears at this point. Sounds like a very typical drunk girl's evening.
Yeah.
Very typical
white
drunk
girl wasted.
Yeah, very typical white girl wasted night. However, his cousin says I was definitely the talk of the family the next day. The next
Boring wedding then.
Yeah, that's the one drunk girl. Which is, it's a bit tricky.
Not like the weddings we've been to.
No, well, not like no one's fucking naked. It's tricky.
Quite tame.
Yeah,
everyone's still got their clothes on.
Yeah. It's almost like they sort of, offer us shots, try and get you to drink, and you're trying to, like, fit in with the family. However, then when the person gets drunk, it's like, oh, you didn't know your limits. Like, anyways. Mm. The next morning, I've never been so embarrassed in my entire life. The wedding day walk of shame is definitely something. I've apologised profusely to my boyfriend, his parents. I've sent an email to the brother and the bride apologising for my behaviour at the wedding. His parents both know me, and I think they realise it was just a one-off, but my boyfriend, his brother, and the bride are all still angry with me. My boyfriend hasn't broken up with me, but he's made lots of vague statements about how he has a lot to think about and that I ruined a day that was very important to him. He says he's mortified that all his family were there, including relatives from far away, and that this is the only time that they had met me. They all must just think I'm a drunk party girl at this point. Our relationship until this point has been amazing, and we have even talked about moving together in summer. I think that we'd both gone to the point where basically we had assumed we'd get married in the future. Now, because of this one night, I feel like maybe I'm losing this entire future I had thought about, and I don't know what to do. How can I possibly make this up to him? What can I say to get him to see that while I messed up, this is not the person I would be? This was just a once-off. Oh, she's really dragging herself there.
Must be more. Like, surely if someone just got drunk but didn't cause a scene, you wouldn't really care that much. Like, I feel like I'm missing something, or he's just a really uptight, because people just do get drunk, and as long as she didn't do anything but get drunk, how could this have, like, upset everyone so much? Like, I feel like something's missing.
Well, she's getting dragged. The poster is getting dragged. She has said, if this was out of the norm, I might get drunk once a month when I go out with friends. I don't do it often. I'll have a glass of wine with dinner. I'm more of a glass of wine with dinner kind of girl.
Well, sometimes when you don't drink a lot, when you're not a drinker, that's when you get drunk. And if it is the first time she's meeting all of these people, she might have been nervous and was just like, oh, have a few drinks. People do, like, put that pressure on you to keep drinking, and she might have kept thinking, like, oh, well, I keep filling my wine glass up, I've got to keep drinking. But it just seems like, why is he so upset? And I think if her just getting drunk at a wedding, which obviously is not ideal if it's the first time she's meeting, like, a big chunk of people, like, if that is causing their, like, relationship to be on the rocks, was it that strong to begin with?
So everyone on the internet is dragging her. And I think let's just do it based off the information we know. I don't think one drunk night where you haven't done anything super horrible, like, it's not ideal. She sent an email to the brother and the bride. She's apologised. His parents have forgiven her. Why is he holding her on a stake for this? Like, it's one mistake. And the thing that I think is, if she thought they were going to get married, or if they were going to get married, you're going to make more than one mistake. Like, you've really just got to, you're in the trenches with someone and you've really just got to, you know, accept that sometimes they're not going to always be perfect. So maybe they weren't, as she's saying, oh, we were perfect until that point, but maybe they just weren't on a solid ground.
It's different if she was like old mate that said, oh, I'm going to treat this like a mad Monday and go for it. And he's like, don't, like, this is a wedding. But it sounds like she just got too drunk and didn't mean to. And obviously he might get more cranky because he told her to stop drinking and then she went back to the bar to continue.
So that was a fucking... Why did she do that?
But
she just went full send.
When you're upset and you're drunk, you don't make the best decisions.
No. So, yeah, she got a bit pissed at a wedding. I mean... If family were there doing shots, there must have been some other...
it seems like they're, like, it's a drinking culture at their family. Like, I think it would be a bit different if no one was doing the shots and she was really going in, but it seems like everyone else was drinking just as much.
Yeah. So, I guess that's similar to what we said earlier. It's almost like be drunk at weddings but don't take away from the moment sort of thing. So
I feel like there's something missing from that story.
Yeah, she did delete a couple of bits, so maybe there's some more tea to be had there.
Well, I guess that's it for all of our wedding stories. I'm pretty sure down the track we'll be revisiting the weddings again. We'll find some more wild stories. I definitely want to do an episode about, like, bachelorettes and...
Yes, we got to do that. If you have any stories about bachelorette party, any of those sorts of things, send it in to us because once we have enough content, we'll schedule the episode, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's so many interesting... You just hear the wild stories people have for bachelorettes, so I definitely think that's going to make a very juicy episode.
So just a reminder, we are on all the socials. So we're on YouTube, Instagram. Actually, we're not on all the socials. We're not on Facebook.
Does that even count anymore?
Nah, unless you're... No.
Nah, we're not doing Facebook.
We're not doing it.
We're not
Sorry. I mean, we're in our 30s, but we're still not doing Facebook. Anyways, we're on not Facebook, but, you know, TikTok.
On all the socials that count.
Yeah, Amazon and Spotify.
Yes.
Excellent. So find us, please follow us. I know it's so crazy. You guys following us on YouTube helps us out so much putting the podcast together. You guys have no idea. You're interacting with us. You're sending your stories. You know, every single little bit you're supporting us putting together the podcast. So thank you.
Thank you guys for listening to another episode. And that's it.
Till next time.